Hello again, everyone. This is, I suppose, part 2 of this video. In the first one, I read the poem for Sebastian for you, and in this one, I'm gonna discuss it a little bit. I was asked to do a little bit of explanation of like symbolism and stuff like that in the poem, and I am a little leery of doing that with writing, because first of all, it feels weird to like talk about what I meant, and second of all, I wrote the poem for you as much as I wrote it for me. And so, although I'm not a relativist, and I believe there are certainly like poor readings of poems and music and art and whatever, I am a big believer in like what you take out of the poem is what's important for you. Like your understanding of the poem is going to be just as important as my understanding of the poem 99 times out of 100. So I don't want to explain too much what I thought, but what I am willing to do is talk about what I was imagining when I was writing the poem to give you a little bit more light on that. So I'll talk about some of the imagery here. The first thing that I want to talk about is the postman in this poem called For Sebastian. When I was writing this poem, I was sitting on my balcony and the postman rolled up and, took out some letters from his van and some packages, and I just thought about how at its most very basic form, the role of the postman is to deliver on a schedule. That's literally what his job is. Figuratively, I was thinking about that like process of what it means to deliver on a schedule, and how kind of sometimes we expect that for ourselves and others, and that can be a really not useful thing to do for people with mental illness and people who are struggling, whether it's yourself or someone else. Water is also a huge image in the poem, and all of these like kind of stereotypical things I was thinking about, like how the ocean is vast and powerful and mysterious and stuff like that. But mainly I was thinking like when the line is you're wading in standing water at your ankles, and then later it's like the ocean and the tide and things, I was thinking about what it means to actually physically be in the water and be trying to do something while you're being physically impeded like that, and how difficult it can be, and also how tasking it can be to be in an environment that isn't suited to your needs at that moment. So like if you're freezing, you probably shouldn't be in the water because it's, not going to be good for you. So I was thinking about that as well. Later too, when I'm talking about Neptune's ice seas, it's very hopeful. It would be very cool if there were ammonia breathing beetles living in Neptune's ice seas, and perhaps that's scientifically possible and we just aren't aware of it. And so, life at the same time as it can be like water, like vast and powerful and mysterious and overwhelming and things like that, it can also be really good and can also be an indication that the future exists, which I think is a very hopeful thought. When it comes to the SOS, that thought was mainly like, okay, well, we have such a huge and vast, again, impact on everything around us, whether it be people, like the society that we hold, or our community or our family and whatever, but also like things like this and the ocean and the animals and whatever, like the whole world we affect so drastically without like directly understanding how that's the case. And so that's living is then writing an irreparable IOU to the world, and like to understand that and also try to live well while knowing that is really difficult and can I imagine, again, like, can be like literally getting on your hands and knees while the tide is out and sticking your tongue into the sand that has these like ripples on it from like the water lapping at the sand, and drawing an SOS with your tongue that's big enough for someone else to see it. Like, yeah, just very, very tasking again. So I think that the poem is overtly kind of negative, perhaps, but then there are things in the poem that say, hey, like, things are worth it, to me anyway. Here I am explaining the poem. But yeah, so for example, at the end, when I talk about the tiny pill bugs and brand new leaves, like, the leaves are still there, you know. I planted some sweet potato shoots this summer, and like in brand new fresh soil from a bag on my balcony in a pot, and there were these tiny white pill bugs on it. And I just thought about like how defeating that is, you know, to like be trying to grow these new leaves and to have there be bugs without any good reason. But then I thought, like, you know, the leaves are still there, the plant is still managing, and it's still doing what it's supposed to do, and there's hope in that too, I think. So those are some of my considerations for the poem. If you got this far in the video, thank you very much. Hopefully that can sort of inform your understanding of the poem without overwhelming any of the individual thoughts that you were having about the poem. If you want to comment what you took out of it, that would be awesome. I would love to hear it. I really like to hear feedback on how people understand things in the poem and how it speaks to them. So if that did happen for you, I'd love for you to digitally respond to me. Yeah, thank you.